Bungie just dropped an article announcing that the active development of Destiny 2 is going to end after the June update. In the article, they outlined a bunch of stuff that is going to be added in this update. Things people have been begging Bungie for years to implement, like the Sparrow Racing League and new aspects and fragments. But what does all this matter now? Because this is the end. This isn't the same as when Bungie dropped the final Age of Triumph update for Destiny 1. Because back then, Destiny 2 was right around the corner to continue the franchise, and we came off a good expansion in Rise of Iron. This time around, the community sentiment has been in a free fall for literal years, and there is no Destiny 3 at the end of this tunnel. And that is a fact because Jason Schreier just put out a follow-up article where he confirmed that Destiny 3 is not in active development right now. In fact, nothing is, because everything they're pitching right now is being rejected by Sony, with the prospect of developing Destiny 3 being among the rejected proposed projects. And to top all of this off, Bungie is planning another round of mass layoffs once again, since there will be a ton of redundancies if no game is greenlit, and they won't be able to move the entire studio over to Marathon. But speaking of Marathon, that game ain't doing too hot either. If we're keeping it real, the numbers it's pulling right now are not all that either. That game has been steadily bleeding players and is now at a point where it has less daily active players than Destiny 2, a game that literally hasn't had a content update since December 2025. Marathon is a fine game, but it's unfortunately just a very polished niche game. A niche game that doesn't have the staying power to carry a large studio like Bungie the way Destiny did. It is mind-boggling that this is the end of Destiny. A franchise that was once one of the biggest games in the entire world. One of the first live service franchises that has been going on for more than a decade now. But at this point, it isn't even just Destiny that is going to see its end. With the way things are going, the future of Bungie as a whole is everything but certain. You know, back in the day, Destiny was my life, dog. Especially in the old Destiny 1 days. Coming home after school and logging onto Destiny, man, those were the times. Playing strikes and PvP with my brother and best friend, grinding gear, beating raids, struggling through the nightfalls together, and losing our minds when one of us got an exotic to drop. I still remember when I was playing some PvP at my crib with my best friend, at the start of D1. After he completed the round of Control on my account, he dropped the Grail of all Grails, Gjallarhorn, as the match reward. Back then we didn't even know that he essentially just got me the best gun in the game from a simple PvP match. Man, we played thousands of hours of Destiny together. This game meant so much to me that even when I wasn't playing the game, I was still listening to lore videos and talking about it all the time. And this love for the game carried over to D2 as well. But at that point, I was older, and all of Bungie's bad and questionable decision making was getting harder and harder to stomach, until I completely stopped. I've ended my Destiny journey 4 years ago, because the game I was playing with my brother and best friend all those years ago had been dead for a while now. Long gone were the days of being excited for an exotic drop, or farming special strike exclusive loot. Bungie's asinine decision making for all these years turned Destiny into something unrecognizable. Ruining the storytelling and grind by introducing the god-awful seasonal model and time-getting literal fucking storytelling behind a weekly activity. Like yeah, I'm definitely jumping at the bits to get my weekly 10 lines of dialogue after completing the weekly activity for 10 weeks in a row. Whoop-de-doo. And destroying the grind with the introduction of weapon crafting, in combination with the seasonal model. Destiny was more like conveyor belt gaming at that point, where playing the game was more like a list of chores that needed completion rather than enjoying the game. Bungie became a studio that was doing the bare minimum, because they were afraid of over-delivering and setting unrealistic expectations for the player base. That is, by the way, almost verbatim what the current new CEO of the company said back in 2022. Couple that with Bungie putting in less and less effort for earnable gear and instead going all out for their cash shop Eververse gear, and them sunsetting aka deleting content from the game that we literally paid for, and I was done. At that point I stopped playing Destiny entirely and became a full-on Destiny hater. I gotta be honest, at that point I actually wanted Destiny to die. I felt betrayed after sticking with the game through all of its controversies and its highs and lows and still believing in its potential. But this is how they rewarded my loyalty? Turning the game into a slopfest that was getting worse year by year and putting in the bare minimum amount of effort when it came to anything but the cash shop? After all this, I couldn't stand Bungie or Destiny, but I couldn't let them go either. Even after quitting the game, I still watched videos from content creators like Astacross, Fallout Plays, and My Name is Bive to this day. Because somewhere in me, I still wanted to believe in Destiny's potential. I still wanted the game to somehow turn it all around and give me a reason to start playing again. My god, Look at what I'm saying about a damn video game, bro. This shit is sounding more like a toxic relationship than my experience with a video game at this point. But even after all these years of consuming the game through these content creators, nothing has meaningfully changed. Bungie has continued to make the wrong decisions at almost every step of the way, up to the point that the continued existence of the studio isn't even a certainty anymore. All those years playing Destiny, there was always this question that was being asked. Who is going to make the Destiny killer? Who will make the game that will dethrone Destiny and ultimately end its reign as the king of the MMO-like genre? Looks like at the end, the true Destiny killer was always the executive suit at Bungie. Because all this is the fault of Bungie leadership, since they are behind all the studio's decision making. Especially the CEO, Pete Parsons, who set the company up for failure at almost every turn in the recent years. This man is the true architect behind the situation we're finding ourselves in right now. Because this asshat just wanted a quick payout and be done with the gaming industry. Just so he can spend all his money on his luxury car collection, which he flexed to an employee before they got laid off the next week. Like, imagine going to the office and your boss pulls up to you and is like, "Hey dog, look at all the ice in my wrist. I rake it in the door right now, baby." By the way, I'm gonna fire 100 of you niggas by next week because we fell below expectations. Have a nice day. Bro, I would have folded that bozo like a goddamn lawn chair, my nigga. But this isn't even the worst part. When an employee asked if the execs were gonna take pay cuts to avoid firing people, this nigga had the gall to say, and I quote, "We are not that kind of company."
Is this nigga serious?
That guy is a piece of filth who mismanaged the studio to hell and back. There's no going around it. Like, Destiny 2 was one of the biggest live service games around 2020 and the years before that. But instead of reinvesting the money they made back into Destiny, the executive decision was made to start multiple new internal projects. But they could have put all their manpower and profit into Destiny 2 to make it the best game it could be and organically increase their player base. Or perhaps assign people to handle the years worth of technical debt they've accrued over the years. They instead split up their workforce and had hundreds of employees spin up side projects that would ultimately go nowhere. Well, yeah, everyone with a functioning brain could easily see that this would be a stupid fucking idea. Making a new live service behemoth wasn't the only goal Bungie's executives were going for at the time. The real goal was to make Bungie more valuable to possible buyers, as Pete Parsons was looking to sell the studio. While Destiny's numbers by themselves looked pretty good around the time and would have fetched some good numbers for the studio alone, having multiple new projects with the quote-unquote expertise of Bungie at the helm would easily drive up the price they could bargain for if they wanted to sell the studio. And the unfortunate victims of the scheme were the Destiny player base, Destiny itself, and especially Sony, who spent $3.6 billion to acquire this mess of a studio, in hopes of creating one of the next big live service games with the stewardship of Bungie. Well, we'll see how that played out, huh?
What the hell? Oh my god, no way.
This nigga is trash.
In the end, all of us were played by Pete Parsons, who already cashed out and resigned, becoming a multi-millionaire. Destiny was played by it never being allowed to reach its full potential due to the reallocation of staff and the focus on doing the bare minimum. We the players were played by never getting the Destiny we deserved, and the franchise essentially ending by being taken out back and being shot. And PlayStation was played for $3.6 billion and the cancellation of their potentially biggest live service games, Last of Us Factions 2. I mean, I don't want to be part of any of the affected parties, but if it was Sony, man, would I be pissed off right now. Golly. Imagine paying $3.6 billion for a studio, just for it to shit the bed 2 years later and being a stain on your reputation. In the end, Destiny was never able to reach its full potential. It could have become one of the greatest gaming franchises of all time, but instead of reaching those heights, it crashed and burned due to the greed and ineptitude of Bungie's leadership. And the ones who are left to suffer this mess are the players and the ground floor devs at Bungie, who had no control over this mess. Destiny, you were the most toxic relationship I've ever experienced in my life. And that's a lot coming from someone growing up with African parents, I can tell you that. But alas, I'll never forget the time I've shared playing you, be it alone or with the boys. Because those moments will always be some of my fondest gaming moments. This was the tale, and thank you Destiny, for all the time we've shared. So yeah, that was very different from my usual videos. No, usually I have like this structure of like making chapters and stuff like that, but I just had to come on here and just give my opinion on this whole Destiny thing, because I spent more than 10 years with this game, bro. And seeing it go like this, in such a sad way is just not what I was expecting at all. I knew Destiny would go sometime, but not like this. Anyway, if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you fuck with the content, how about you subscribe? I talk about all things gaming every week on this channel, so subscribe for new videos about all things gaming. This is Detail, and see you guys next time.